Welcome to Same Script, Different Cast, Cut to Act 1. Cut to Act 1 is an extension of the regular SSDC podcast. I typically do that with Wikipedia Plot Reader and Movie Pop-Up. And today you are with me, Seen It. And I want to talk about The Outsider, which is a new miniseries on HBO. It started on January 12th. It's based on a Stephen King novel that was published May of 2018. So I'm thinking, did HBO already have this in the wraps? They already put their bid down to have this series, because Stephen King is making buck this past year. I mean, Chapter 2 came out, and The Tall Grass, which was a Netflix movie based on a novella that Stephen King wrote with his son, and also Castle Rock, and that was on Hulu. So it's like Stephen King is dominating every platform from home services to the theater. So I'm going to go over the first two episodes, Fish in a Barrel and Roanoke. Okay, so since I'm thinking of Roanoke, I'm going to American Horror Story. But those are the names of the first two episodes. And also, Jason Bateman directed those episodes. I'm curious if he's directed any other episodes, but I guess we'll see as this miniseries goes on. And I was so excited to see Ben Mendelsohn, I think I'm saying his name correctly, who was Talos. He was in Spider-Man and Real Player One. He tends to always play the bad guy. So it was nice to see him as an everyday man playing a detective. This story takes place in Cherokee City, Georgia, which is different from King's typical settings, which are always in either Connecticut or Maine. It's there that we find the mangled corpse of a child, Frankie Peterson. Severed head, scratches on his torso, covered in saliva and human bite marks. We then meet local detectives Ralph Anderson, that's played by Ben Hiddleston, Tamika, and Lieutenant Eunice. The physical evidence, along with two eyewitnesses, one is an older woman who says that she saw Jason Bateman's character at a supermarket talking to the little boy, Frankie Peterson, and the other witness is a little girl who says that she saw Jason Bateman at a creek or in the forest with a white van with blood all over his face. So with those two witness statements, along with security camera footage, it points the detectives to Jason Bateman's character, which is Coach Terry Maitland. Ralph, whose own late son was coached by Terry, is pissed and has him publicly arrested at a Little League game.
Go in there, read him his rights, loud and clear, so that everyone can hear. And then cuff him in front, so everyone can see.
When he's being arrested, Coach Terry insists on his innocence. And I mean, even the cops that arrest him, he knows them by name, and he asks them, like, Jacob, Edward, what's going on? They take him away, and they announce in front of everyone, you are arrested for the murder of Frankie Peterson.
Terrence Maitland, I'm arresting you for the murder of Frankie Peterson.
For the what?
Hold out your wrist, please.
So everyone hears this, his wife, his children. So Coach Terry's wife, Glory, she calls their family lawyer. His name is Howard. Alec, who is a private investigator hired by Howard, tracks down evidence that Coach Terry was at an out-of-town teacher conference at the time of the murder, including news footage of Coach Terry speaking at the conference. And then when Terry went to the gift shop at the hotel of the conference, he touched a book. So now there's his DNA. So the prosecution and the defense have contradictory evidence. The prosecution isn't confident anymore on their eyewitnesses, even though they have physical evidence of Coach Terry in one location, but so does the defense. Howard is pretty confident Coach Terry will be cleared of the charges, but Coach Terry is left in jail waiting for his arraignment. And while he's there, he's being bullied by jailmates, calling him a child killer. While the investigation is taking place, I'm going to call him Fake Terry, you see that in the surveillance cameras, he wanted to be known. He did not hide from the cameras, and on several occasions, he looked directly at the camera, at the train station and also at the strip club. Now, when he went to the strip club, he looked at the camera, talked to the owner, then changed his clothes there. So when he changed his clothes, he came up, and this is important to note, the belt buckle that he has. It was very pronounced. When he was going to leave, he decided to park the white van in the employee area, and he's telling the strip club owner that that's what he's going to do. He then calls a cab, tells the cab driver to register the pickup with dispatch. So meanwhile, we're going to cut back to the Peterson family. So it's Ralph and Tamika that notify Frankie's mother of his death. We, the audience, don't hear the dialogue, but we see how the mom reacts. After that happens, you know how typically after a funeral, well, not after a funeral, but after you hear of someone passing, you go to their home. So Frankie's mom is cleaning up after that sort of a get-together, and she takes a baseball bat and she starts smashing dishes. But you see what she's doing and you see her going through the motion. Then it looks like she has a heart attack. So while she's doing that, Big Frank and Ollie, they're around her. They take her to the hospital. We see that they're told by the doctor she died. Again, there's no dialogue, but we see from the mannerisms. The dad gets up and walks down the hall, and the son, Ollie, puts his head in his hands. So we know that's what happened. And then we also see Ollie and Big Frank, instead of just picking out one casket, for Frankie, they're now picking out 2 caskets. Because even the funeral director was saying that they would get a percentage off for purchasing 2 caskets. Ralph then goes to meet with Coach Terry at the prison one evening. They have a deep conversation, and Coach Terry talks about how Ralph's son was so courageous and just showed confidence with practice in Little League. He brought this up because when Coach Terry was being brought in after the whole incident at the game, Ralph asked, "Did you ever touch my son?" With this talk, Coach Terry is just like, "I can't believe you even asked me that. I was a mentor to your son. I saw him grow, and you asked me that." So Coach Terry said, "Did I ever touch your son? I hope so." But it was in a matter of teacher with student that he instilled some sort of not only confidence, but just with how to play the game and to be strong in his convictions and being a team player. Then Ralph just straight up just asked Coach Terry if he killed Frankie, and he responds that he didn't do it. The next day, as Coach Terry arrives at the courthouse for his arraignment, along with police officers to include pregnant Tamika, Ollie, who's still distraught over the death of his mom and his little brother, opens fire, shoots Tamika in the leg, 2 other officers, and fatally wounding Coach Terry in the neck before being killed with a headshot by Ralph. With his dying breath, Terry insists on his innocence and says, "It wasn't me." Then in the background, you see the deformed man, woman, or whatever in a green hoodie. So they're off in this sea of people just watching. Fred Peterson, think about it, he's lost his wife and his 2 sons. He fails at an attempted suicide by hanging. When he's helped by this person who's jogging by, we actually see the melty-faced person off on the side. So Fred is left in a coma because he was brain dead for 10 minutes. Tamika has her baby. Ralph is now put out on leave. And then we meet this dickhead detective. His name is Jack Hoskins because he's there now to fill in. So although Ralph is on leave, he's still investigating the white van that was used by the killer and identifies that it was in the same location of where the Maitlands went for a family vacation earlier that year. So Lieutenant Lewis and Ralph, they go and they interview the teenager who stole this white van and dropped it off in Dayton, Ohio to steal another car, and discover through questioning that the boy dropped off the car around Ash Wednesday, which was the same time that the Maitlands took their vacation to visit Coach Terry's dad. Ralph goes to visit Gloria. He finds out through their daughter, Maya, that on the trip to Ohio, Coach Terry cut his hand while he was walking in the hallway and bumped into a male nurse, fell, grabbed the nurse's hand, and then there was a cut on his wrist. There was also a pig restaurant in the mall. And the pig is important because on the torn flyer that was found in the white van, it matched up with it. We also see the Maitland younger daughter, Jessa. She's suffering from apparent nightmares of a man in her room telling her bad things. And what she'll do is she'll just sit up in her bed and just look straight off. And I guess she's talking to him. Gloria just shrugs it off as just a bad dream. At the end of episode 2, a farmhand discovers a pile of discarded clothes in a barn that matches the same clothes that fake Terry wore when he changed in the strip club. And still, we gotta put an emphasis on this special belt buckle. But to me, it looks like the clothes were covered in goo or slime or something like that. That concludes the first 2 episodes. So, does Coach Terry have a twin? I guess that's one of the questions. I'm honestly thinking, is this a tethered? You know what I mean? It's just a monkey paw production where Jordan Peele and Stephen King, they're secretly united and they're giving us this. Because even in the poster, it looks like the shadow is underground. So is this the tethered? Is this Us Part 2? Who knows? But I guess we'll find out on the 3rd episode. Give us a little bit more information. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm very excited about this series. We'll see what happens with the rest of the show. See ya.
I think